Are you, by any chance, feeling lonely right now? Staring at a silent phone on a weekend evening? Have you ever felt anxious? Wondering if you are living your life wrong? As we age, friendships change. Reunions become awkward, and an unidentifiable emptiness strikes us, even in the middle of a crowd. We often label these feelings as failure. We blame ourselves, asking, is there something wrong with my personality? Or, do I lack virtue? However, the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer throws the exact opposite idea at us. If you are alone right now, you have finally become your complete self. Today, for those of you exhausted by human relationships, I want to talk about how solitude is actually a powerful weapon and why there is no need to force yourself to hold on to fading connections. Borrowing insights from Schopenhauer and other great thinkers. Since childhood, we have been told until our ears hurt, get along with your friends, or connections are wealth. So, we force smiles at people we dislike and waste time at drinking parties we don't want to attend. We trap ourselves in the prison of reputation, constantly worrying about what others think of me. But Schopenhauer gives us cold, hard advice. To listen only to the voices of others is the behavior of a slave. In fact, losing friends as you get older is not because your personality is twisted. It is an extremely natural phenomenon. In our 20s, we are all in similar situations, so there is little to compare. But past 40, the gaps in life widen. Someone bought a house. Someone got promoted. Someone's children are excellent, and the bragging begins. It is exactly at this time that the uncomfortable nature of human relationships begins to reveal itself. It is comparison and jealousy. The French writer La Rochefoucauld left us a quote that cuts to the bone. We always find a strange pleasure in the misfortunes of our friends. Does that sound terrible? But let's be honest. Did the friend who pretended to comfort you when you were down truly applaud from the bottom of their heart when you achieved massive success? Or did you sense a subtle jealousy or envy? Conversely, look at those who are desperate to show off their wealth and happiness. Deep-seated inferiority and vanity reside within them. True nobility does not brag about money, just as an empty can makes the loudest noise. Even Aristotle, the sage of ancient Greece, lamented, "Oh, my friends, there is no friend." Even a great philosopher acknowledged the absence of true friends. Finding a true friend with whom your soul connects is like looking for a needle in a desert. So, we must admit it now. Forcing human relationships is nothing more than a war of attrition that wears down your soul. So, should we retreat to the mountains and live in total isolation? Of course, humans are social animals. Here, Schopenhauer's famous parable of the porcupines gives us wisdom. On a cold winter day, porcupines huddle together for warmth. But the closer they get, the more they prick each other with their sharp quills. If they move apart because of the pain, they get cold again. If they get close, it hurts again. Eventually, they find a moderate distance where they can feel warmth without stabbing each other. Human relationships are the same. Do not get too close. There is nothing more dangerous than saying, "We have no secrets," or "You and I are one." Behind excessive intimacy lurks rudeness. Politeness and manners are like the lubricating oil, applied to avoid being pricked by each other's quills. Schopenhauer advises us to treat people like fire or electricity. If you get too close, you burn. If you stay too far, you freeze. Maintaining a slightly cool distance that is the wisest attitude to protect yourself and respect others. When you maintain this moderate distance, the time you spend alone inevitably increases. Many people suffer at this point because they confuse loneliness with solitude. However, these two are strictly different. If loneliness is a word that expresses the pain of being alone, solitude is a word that expresses the glory and joy of being alone. The French philosopher Pascal said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." Why can't we stand being alone? Why do we constantly check our smartphones and continue meaningless gatherings? It is because our inner selves are empty. People with impoverished inner lives seek pleasure from the outside, approval from others, entertainment, pleasure. But happiness that comes from the outside disappears like a mirage when the situation changes. On the other hand, those with rich inner lives love solitude. For them, solitude is another name for freedom. Schopenhauer asserted, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. And if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom." Time alone is not a miserable time. It is a time of reflection to grasp what you want, what kind of person you are, and what your desires are. Nietzsche also added, "You must go the way you have found. That way is a lonely way, but only that way leads you to yourself." Solitude is not a punishment, but a privilege enjoyed only by superior souls. The reason we must solidify our inner selves like this is also due to the nature of life. Schopenhauer compared life to a pendulum swinging back and forth between pain and boredom. Those who have nothing suffer from lack. Conversely, when one possesses everything, boredom, that is, ennui, arrives. Why do billionaires fall into drugs or gambling? Because life becomes too boring. We crave something and suffer until we get it. But once we have it, the joy is fleeting, and we soon get used to it. And then we wander looking for another desire. If we do not realize this treadmill of desire, we will end our lives being swayed by others and the world forever. Where then is true happiness? Happiness is not something lofty. It exists in that fleeting moment of transition from lack to fulfillment. A cup of cold water when you are thirsty, the wind at the summit after a hard climb. So do not just try to avoid pain. Happiness exists because pain exists. The power to endure pain and the ability to find small satisfactions in daily life, that is the technique of happiness. Finally, to live without being shaken. Please carve this realistic advice left by Schopenhauer into your heart. First, health is 90% of happiness. If your body hurts, all the wealth and honor in the world feel like trash. If you are depressed, or if you think too much, just walk. A sound mind dwells in a sound body. And do not be deceived by the illusion of vanity, but possess pride. What we often call self-esteem is often actually vanity, the desire to be respected by others. Self-esteem that collapses when others ignore you is fake. What is truly needed is pride, the heart that is convinced, "I am a decent person, regardless of what others say." This comes not from external evaluation, but from deep self-understanding and solitary reflection. The Roman philosopher Seneca said, "We spend our whole lives preparing to live. Do not sacrifice today, dreaming of a jackpot in the future. Do not waste today ruminating on the wounds of the past. The only time we can live is now." Life is like sailing a rough sea. Waves always crash. When a storm rages, if there is too much cargo on the ship will capsize. Throw away the heavy luggage of unnecessary relationships, the mind that compares itself to others, and vain desires into the sea. Become lighter and willingly become solitary. When everyone is gone and you are alone, there should be the only and most powerful friend left by your side. That is exactly yourself. To become your own best friend, that is the final wisdom Schopenhauer left us. You who are alone, you are not wrong. Rather, you are living the smartest life.